ancient order of women, sworn to find the truth, no matter how hard people may try to hide it. And if a seeker should arise, to protect him with her life.
As TV shows come and go, some of our most beloved shows never leave us. They become timeless with our favorite characters living in our hearts and minds thanks to the love of a great television series. Legend of the Seeker is one of those programs. After airing on ABC from 2008 to 2010, the show and its characters continue to have a devout following. And that's no small feat. The story behind Legend of the Seeker already had millions of fans because it originated in Terry Goodkind's best-selling fantasy series entitled The Sword of Truth. My next guest and her co-stars face the unique challenge of not only bringing their characters to life, but also pleasing passionate readers of the book series. A challenge that in some ways seems impossible, but it's very important to build a positive consensus among the fans. In my view, even if you haven't read a single word of the book series, it would be extremely hard to envision anyone else playing the role of the Confessor Kalin other than Bridget Regan. Kalin is the kind of character that finds a good balance between being feminine and having to kick ass when she needs to. She could make you fall in love with her simply by placing her hand on your neck and looking you straight in the eyes. But when you look at fan sites with the names herblueeyes.com and soveryblue.com, you can tell that fans have loved Bridget and her work for some time now. It is my pleasure to welcome her to the show today. Hi, Bridget.
Aw, thanks, Scott. That's lovely. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, my first question is a very serious and important one, as you'll be able to tell right away. Do you have hordes of men walk up to you on the street and ask you to confess them?
No. No, I got stopped in IKEA once.
Oh, did you?
I've had people ask to take photos of me, with my hand around their neck or something like that, but I tend to get a little shy.
Now, this had to be an exciting and challenging role to play. How much did you know about Kalin in the books when you auditioned for the role?
Honestly, I had never heard of the book, and when I auditioned, there wasn't a script. There was a character description, a breakdown of the story, and some sides. And they recommended that the actors look at Wikipedia and read up on the mythology of the series and kind of the rules, because it was confusing if you're just kind of picking it up going, what is it, what are all these things,
yeah,
all these words that you don't know what they mean. And so
right.
I did that, and my interest was piqued right away based on just her character description, because I felt like it was right for me, and it was dynamic, and I was excited about it. And I auditioned, and then I wanted a script, and they didn't have one, and so then it kind of went away for a while, and they kept searching, and then they asked me back again, and I said, I need a script, come on, and they still didn't have it. It was because Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert picked up the series just based on the books, the love story, and so they were in the midst of writing it. And in the meantime, I was reading the book, and I didn't put it down, and I really fell in love with the role, and it was great, and it was very, very meant to be. And looking back on it, it kind of made me feel like the whole thing was quite cosmic, because I met my husband, and now we have a baby, and it's all because of Legend of the Seeker. Had I not done it, I mean, who knows where I would have been. It's just kind of wild,
I didn't realize you had met him while doing the show.
Yeah, he's Kiwi, and he was working kind of behind the scenes. And yeah, so now we live in the States, and he's got a green card, so there you have it.
Well, there you go. Well, this was all just meant to be then. Well, I've heard actors talk about taking on the role of a character that already had a following because the book series was so immensely popular and still is. And there's just something about that added pressure of hoping that fans accept the portrayal of a character. What was that experience like for you, and how rewarding is it to have so many fans respond to you the way that they have?
Well, it's not something that was totally new to me, because I grew up doing a lot of theater, and if you go see Macbeth or King Lear or Romeo and Juliet, people know those characters, and they have an expectation, and it's not that far off playing a part, or even, Chekhov or Shaw, these plays with kind of characters that people know and love. People are going to have expectations, and so it's not something that was totally new to me, but I didn't worry about it too much. We did have a lot of back and forth, because in the books, Kalin has green eyes, and I thought that the audience might not like that I don't have that, because it's over and over and over again in the books that she has green eyes.
Yeah.
And so little things like that, I kind of go, oh, well, I want it to be right. I want it to be like the books. And in a way, we had to let go of the books because the script strayed from them in a lot of ways.
Sure, yes.
Especially with the revealing of Kalin's power and, how people treat her and things like that. And so, we did have to let go of it in some ways.
Yeah, and, I'm really glad you brought up the ways that things have to be done when it's coming from a book. I mean, anytime you try to take a visual adaptation of a book, it's challenging, obviously, for movies, but I would think it's even more so with a television series. And, I don't always think people understand how challenging that is, Bridget. Obviously, when a show is going on, there's always that debate, about what followed the books. Since you basically have to tell an individual story in each episode in less than an hour, it's almost a necessity to change a certain amount of things in order to make it work, right?
Yeah. I got to know Ken Diller and Stephen Tolkien and Mike Sussman quite well, and they are just pros at what they do. And they drew from every single book in, Terry Goodkind's canon of this Sort of Truth series. And I think they really pulled some of the best of the series, and I love that they brought in Tara, much earlier, and a lot of the decisions they made, they really helped the series along, and I'm happy they didn't wait and follow it religiously, because it would have been like full episodes of us just like walking through the woods and nothing happening.
Yeah, well, there's something to be said for that, because I think there's advantages to being able to sit down and see these great characters with a little bit different take. Otherwise, what's going to happen every single time, how everything's going to, turn out every single time, and there's upside to seeing kind of a new take on the whole thing.
Absolutely.
How involved was Terry Goodkind in the show?
I've never met him. As far as I know, he wasn't involved at all.
The depth of the characters are very consistent with the depth of the story. I mean, they live in a really big, epic crisis filled with complex challenges. The characters have great backstories, complexities, and strengths and weaknesses. And it really had to be quite special to immerse yourself in a world like that.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a whole experience, because it was picking up and moving and living in a new place, and we did a lot of training in the beginning, and so it was like a whole immersion. I was making lots of new friends and meeting lots of great Kiwis, and then traveling around New Zealand. It's in my memory now, and I honestly, I look back on it quite nostalgically.
Yeah. I enjoy talking to actors that have taken on complex roles where the stakes are so high, the emotional barriers have to be taken on, and Kalin has so much to deal with. She has her feelings for Richard that could be a blessing or a deadly curse, the weight of her mission, and not to mention how many times in this show, just even in the first season, the main characters look to be in a game-over scenario. I mean, literally, you're sitting there thinking, there is no way they can get out of this, and yet, something great happens, and they do. How challenging is it to tap into some of those really intense emotions and stick with them throughout an entire shoot?
It was heavy. I remember feeling some days really overwhelmed with the stakes of the show and worrying, are we getting it? Because it's life or death every day on that show.
That's right.
And I don't say life or death lightly. I mean it. And also in the second season in particular, it wasn't just life or death, it was the end of the world.
Yeah.
We're racing against time, and it was really heavy. So, I mean, that was the hardest part for me to grasp. When you add physical violence or running or something physical to it, it usually helps. And, it's like 12 angry zombies are chasing after you. It's not that hard to be like, oh, crap, you don't have to act that much when, like, stuntmen are coming at you wielding axes.
One of those game over scenarios, the first one I think of, was the first time we saw Kalin use blood rage.
Blood rage!
Yeah.
Yeah, blood rage. I haven't heard the word blood rage together in a while. Oh, that's funny. It's kind of funny, right, that it's called blood rage? I mean, now it was a joke on set.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Oh, she's got the blood rage.
She's got the blood rage. Back off.
Exactly. It's terrible. God. He does have a sense of humor, that Terry Goodkind.
Well, yeah.
Blood rage is like the scariest, most serious thing.
I know.
It's like it's when Kalin turns into a monster, which I loved, by the way. I'm not saying I didn't love it. It was one of my favorite things about her. She was most scared of herself, which is something that we all can relate to. What am I capable of? Am I really a bad person? Or am I a good person? Those are the things that are universal. And that's what I loved about her character so much. You're scared of your own power. Like when you're standing at the edge of a cliff, you're not scared that you might trip and fall, you're scared that you have the power to jump.
That eternal question of why do I have this, and is it a blessing or a curse?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember the first time we saw Blood Rage.
I was like, holy crap, what just happened? I believe it was when Richard was incapacitated and you were having your power drawn from you. I mean, the ship was sinking fast. Then all of a sudden, Kalin kind of goes into this, I'm mad and I'm not going to take it anymore mode. And then all of a sudden, nobody in that room stands a chance. And I mean, it was insane, intense, and cool all at the same time.
Yeah, they did a really cool shot in that episode. I remember them shooting it because it took a while to get it right, but
yeah,
they did like this really quick pan in and up over my head because I was like strapped into this crazy thing.
Right.
I remember Dave, he was camera operating. I was like, because I had been crying because I had to, I was being stabbed with these things.
Yes.
And screaming, and then all of a sudden, like, he worked on the shot, and, we got it, and they were like, great, and he, like, he pulled away from the lens, and he's like, wow, he was literally scared. I remember the look on his face, like, I was like, oh, sorry, buddy, you're scared.
Yeah, it was a great scene. Well, Kalin's fighting style involves dual-wielding 2 daggers in her hands, which I think is really cool. Because, we see people fighting with 2-handed swords all the time. Can you talk about the fun experience, I'm assuming it'd be a fun experience, of learning the fight choreography fighting with daggers?
Well, I think it was actually Al Poppleton, who was our stunt coordinator in the beginning of the series, before he went on to Spartacus. I think in the books, Kalin has just maybe one knife or one dagger, and he's a genius, no doubt about it. This man is, incredible. And then adding him, and then my stunt woman, Dana Porter-Chiplin, she was, like, incredible with taking over the choreography and bringing that to life. And the 2 daggers was a really cool choice, but it was a lot more difficult choreography than just having one weapon, because if I'm fighting this guy with one and the other one, getting the other one, it was a lot to learn, and we didn't have enough time to rehearse for my taste. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so I'd have to learn the fight, that we're doing tomorrow, and it was really fast turnaround television, so we couldn't spend as much time on the fights as everyone would like, because they do take a long time. It's like a dance, know. There were some days where it was like, oh God, another fight. It wasn't easy. But on other days it was like awesome. It was exciting, and but yeah, it was cool. I wasn't exactly a stage combat fan. I didn't like it in drama school, and so I had to be converted. But now I do really like it. I love any sort of physicality in the movie that I'm still shooting right now. I don't want to give away too much, but my character, she does get into a situation where she's being physically held down, and it's not looking good for her. And I was like coming off set, and they were setting up another thing, and I was like, gosh, this feels so weird. I'm like, why is she just letting this guy grab her neck? Like, my foot is right between his legs. I could kick him. I could grab that lamp. I could smash him in the head. There's got to be like a chair behind me. I could break, and I'm like just really struggling. I'm like, why doesn't she do anything,
You were ready for the blood rage.
Well, yeah, my husband's on set with my daughter, and he's like, honey, you're not playing an action hero in this movie. You're going to have to accept that. And I was like, oh, that's right.
As you know, the Critic Show today is about shows that seem to have incredible life even after it concludes production, and I think this show obviously continues to have a tremendous life through its fan base. The fans really rallied behind the show even after the fact.
These fans are outrageous. They're the most lovely fans. I kid you not. They're so lovely. I'm seriously, I'm still like baffled by all that they did and have done for the show. It's so lovely.
Yeah, you had the website called SaveOurSeeker.com where they raised a lot of money. I believe the last time I looked it was well over $30,000 in hope of someone starting a 3rd season, or if anything, just continuously promoting the show, letting more people see it and more people know about it at conventions or through DVD and iTunes and promotion or any means possible.
I would put myself in that category.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show today, because I think if people haven't seen this show, you got to see it. Even if you haven't read the books, you got to see it. And I bet when you and the cast saw the fans rally behind the show like that had to blow you guys away.
Oh, yeah, it was really, really touching, because we felt we were quite separated from it all, not being in the States where most of the campaigns and all that are. So we were and everybody still is quite touched.
Well, do you have a TV show that you watched that you've just held on to for a really, really long time? It just never gets old. You can always go back and watch?
Deadwood. I wish it kept going. And I heard that there was going to be a movie, and then I guess it didn't come around. But now I'm hooked on Game of Thrones, which I did not think I would be.
Oh, I constantly keep hearing great things about Game of Thrones.
Kid you not? It is I think it's some of the finest television I've ever seen.
You know, as an actress, there are so many things you obviously strive for and hope to accomplish. I mean, you can land a movie or a television series. Those can be ambitions that you can maybe map out a little bit of a roadmap to get to. But being on a television series that has such a devoted fan base that keeps the show and characters alive for years and years and years, that's one of those things that you can't really plan out, but it just kind of comes your way and you get a chance to be a part of it. What does Legend of the Seeker and the role of Kalin mean to you today?
A lot of the fan mail that I get, it's still is so touching. Honestly, the majority of it is from young women. And they talk about how Kalin has inspired them and they want to be more strong in their lives and be more like her. And that sort of stuff is what really moves me, and when people feel that they can relate to her in that way. And that really is what touches me about it still now. And I'm always going to look back on it really, really fondly for what it was. And obviously for my life, it was a huge life-changing thing, as I mentioned before. But the series itself was, for me, also my first long-term job. And I learned a lot on that show. And I learned a lot about being on a set for 9 months at a time and things like that, and working like a dog. It was a lot of growing up that happened down there, but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. It was great.
You mentioned a moment ago that you're doing the TV movie Hyde for TNT, and you've recently had a chance to be on NCIS Los Angeles. Talk a little bit about some of your current projects.
Oh, gosh. Well, NCIS is great. There's some really fun stuff in that. I got to do a car chase, which was my very first car chase.
Oh, well, that's always
really cool. And I got to work with Todd and Chris, who are great and really cool guys, so that was fun. And then it was my first job back after having my daughter, so it was really, I was busting to get on a movie set or anything. Around 6 months, you're I'm going crazy.
I'm going back to work.
Be inside anymore. Yeah, exactly. So it was wonderful, though. I'm glad I had all that time off, and I'm happy I didn't have to work during that time. It would have been nuts. So in New Orleans right now, shooting this movie Hyde for TNT, which will air December 6th.
Okay.
And the mystery movie night thing is really cool. I think it's really going to catch on. It's kind of a throwback, the telemovie thing, and a great cast. It's with Carla Gugino and Mark Paul Gosselaar and Calvin Alejandro, and it's a really cool movie based on this book Hyde, also by Lisa Gardner, and it's a suspense drama. And if you don't mind watching me not in a corset with daggers, you will like it.
If anything, we might just be right there with you during that scene going, oh, why didn't she hit him or kick him or do something to that guy?
I swear you guys will be, because I was like, what? Really? She doesn't do anything? Okay, all right, okay, but she's scared out of her mind. You'll see.
Yeah.
She's a very different woman. And so there's that, and we'll see what's in the cards for me next.
Well, we'll look forward to that, too. And I guess the other big news in the recent year, obviously, this year you and your husband are going to be celebrating your daughter's first birthday.
Yes, December 22nd.
That'll be fun.
Pretty wild. I know. It's nuts. She's 9 months old now, and
wow.
Standing up and almost about to walk, which is nuts. It's incredible. When you do go back and watch Legend of the Seeker, you can look in the last few episodes. There was a little baby bump. So when he was rearing on that horse and fighting all those women on the beach in the finale. Pregnant. So that's what it was.
Pregnant shot
yes,
here.
Yeah. But Frankie turned out all right. She didn't have any, no horse rearing. Dana, my stunt woman, she told me about all the things that she did when she was pregnant, and that was nothing. I was on the very safe side.
The show's awesome. It was something that people can find on, like I said, Netflix or iTunes, Legend of the Seeker. You guys that are listening to the show, you're immediately going to see why so many people are passionate about the show and the character of Kalin.
Also look for Bridget in the movie Hyde,
which will be on in December on TNT. Be sure to check out some clips and information on thecriticshow.com.
I want to congratulate you, Bridget, on everything.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about Legend of the Seeker and your current projects today. Great to talk to you. I really appreciate you taking time out of your filming schedule to talk to me. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Hey, this is Bridget Regan, and you're listening to The Critic Show with Scott Murray.